Just give the people what they want.
Yep. Oh, they deserve it, you know?
It's actually more for me than anything.
Oh, of course. Let me just can't, I need to like start this off a bit satisfied.
Yeah, let's
There we go. How we going?
Beautiful, mate. I know the feeling. Alrighty.
OCD. Just gotta I do that all the time. I'll be like, all right, I gotta leave in 10 minutes, but first I gotta land this whirlwind. And then I find myself 15 minutes late for whatever I've gotta do, or it's not gonna be a good day unless I land this juggle spike in 3 tries.
That's the one I get stuck with. I'll start my day and be like, my day is gonna be good based off this one.
Yeah. If I do a earth turn first try, everything's going to be great. And if it's not, it's like, oh my God, what did I just set myself up for? But
amazing, bro.
Hey, welcome to Frankston.
Yeah, we're in Frankston. And welcome back to the Yarnyard podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Austin. And today we've got a special guest, Juzzy Carter.
Hello.
We're in his hometown on his beautiful coastline.
I think this might be my doctor's beach box. It could be. He lives on one of these. But anyway, believe it or not, this is Frankston. Frankston has such a negative connotation and a horrible stigma, and it's one of the most beautiful beaches in the world, I believe.
Yeah, as I was saying, I didn't even know it had a beach.
Yeah, it's sensational.
Yeah, it's a beautiful spot to be doing the pod.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
Oh, of course. Thanks for coming down.
Yeah,
Didn't take much.
I drove a long way.
Yeah. No, I'll give you what you want.
Yeah. So mainly the inspiration behind sitting down with you, I think, is just where you're at in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like you're a really good example for someone that has a passion and is looking to fund and fuel that passion with, I guess, the means of multiple ways of being able to get there and being able to do that. And I think with your background being in scootering, as I know, it's not the most profitable industry, or it doesn't have the most, opportunity to, for it to be a sustainable hobby.
No.
And I've been through my kind of waves of that, and I'm sure you have too. But I feel like, we've both been able to keep it going for however long, and
I feel like if it's like if someone has a goal, they're going to do anything they can to achieve that goal. And I think for myself, as well as a lot of other scooter riders, if you're passionate about scootering and it's all you want to do, you're going to do anything you can to make it work, As time's gone on, that's seemingly become harder and harder, as most of our friends have had to work other jobs, take different pathways and stuff. And even for me, it's come to that to an extent, not that I've quit scootering by any means, but you've had to kind of find different solutions or different ways in order to kind of keep scootering or keep it a priority in your life, because I think both of us have no means of, working the normal 9 to 5, locked into an office. It's not who we are. So trying to find different ways of making revenue or ways of making your passion your job has been a never-ending struggle, but it's had some success over the years, And as I always say, I just keep trying to ride the wave till it crashes, So,
I feel like
still
you've done a
hasn't
good job of that, man.
Still in the pipeline. Still in the pipeline. Hopefully.
And I think what I'm coming to realize is that you can't really control it, or you can't really plan out how it's going to work. You almost have to treat it as something, you're waiting for things to fall into place almost.
I don't think you can, I don't think you can. I think the best advice I've ever had.
day as it comes.
Yeah,
almost.
and being open-minded, you know, and
Yeah.
being like, you know, a yes man, like
Yeah.
is so crucial. Like if you have a closed mind and think that this is the only way I'm going to get from A to B, like it's just not going to work
that's
out
a good
that way.
point. I feel like the more fixed you think it's going to look,
You know, yeah.
like the more rigid it becomes, and it's like you kind of like, I guess, close doors that were otherwise maybe open.
100%. And you'll always be surprising yourself along the way, you know? Like, I've had so many opportunities in the past that just because I said yes to it, it didn't immediately lead to something sick, but something came of it, you know? I learnt something, or like that led me to meeting somebody who put me in a position to go somewhere, you know? Like, a good example, I used to pretty much like live with Max Peters. Like he lived up the road and I live like more so down the coast a bit, and Max rode every day and I wanted to be filming all the time. So I just stayed with Max like, you know, most days. And one night, one of his friends, because Max's family is quite motocross oriented, one of his friends was like, oh, Max, would you help us film for the motocross, you know? Like, and that guy's family ran the broadcast company for the Australian motocross, and like, he's like, nah, I don't want to do that, but Juzzy's good with the camera. And I was like, yeah, sure. And I knew nothing about motocross. And like, that began this like 2-year job of me being like a camera operator, like for live television around Australia. And like, that wasn't really what I wanted to do. And like, it wasn't really the most enjoyable job by any means, because I was getting paid like $150 for like 4 full days work, traveling to Adelaide, traveling to Sydney, like nonstop. But I use it to my advantage because like at that time I'm filming for a video part, and this trip, like this job will give me free travel to Sydney. So I'd go.
It'd slingshot you to the next place.
Yeah, I'd do the job, and then I would stay in Sydney and then like, you know, film there for a week and then meet them when they pick me up in the van, then go to Brizzy and then film in Brizzy for a week. So I was able to like, you know, I didn't think taking that job would lead me to being able to film for my video part more, you know, conveniently, but it did, you know, and like I've always just been a big contester for like, you know, taking any opportunity regardless of how weird or like not part of your plan it may seem, even if it goes to shit and it's like completely fucked, like you will learn so much from that experience. You might learn that I'm never going to do that again, or it'll like open up your mind to something you didn't know you enjoyed, or it'll take you on a different pathway you never knew you'd go down, you know?
Totally, man. And we were talking about this today. Like I said, sometimes you need to like go there to know that you don't like it. And at least then you know.
Just like for this podcast, we tried like 5 different filming locations before we got here. And this is possibly the most ideal location, you know? So
yeah. It's incredible.
You know,
and it's cool that you use that example, because how I got here was like, I just got a message from a friend that offered me like 4 days of work, and I'm just like, yes, this is going to slingshot me to Sydney. And that's what I had in my mind. I didn't know I was going to come to Melbourne. But it's like, I think when we're open to those opportunities and we kind of like don't give up on our dream or our passion, like it really can just keep flowing. And it's like crazy to think how long we've been doing that.
100%. And I think, you know, saying yes to things and being open to ideas, open to collaboration, and not being like pessimistic towards things opens you up to so many job opportunities, or like things about yourself, you know, like your identity. Like for one thing for me personally is that like, I know for myself as well as a lot of my friends, like who are like born to ride scooters and that's all they care about, you know, put a lot of their identity with scootering, you know, and do it every day, film every day. That's all they watch, you know, and by taking other opportunities that might lead you towards scootering can put you in, give you new perspectives on what else you like, you know? Taking those opportunities can take you overseas, can take you to new places, meet new people and that might require you to learn new skills, and like you end up learning things about yourself you didn't really know. And that's taken me down so many random career paths or like opportunities or experiences I never thought I'd do.
And it leads to more opportunities, which is crazy. It's really wild. So I guess the question I want to ask is like, how many different things have you done? Like, I feel like you have like a big like
resume.
Yeah, you've got a big resume.
A lot. I mean, I finished school and started a film degree, but the moment I started that was when scootering really popped off for me. So like I had this film degree running in the background forever and was like doing it for so goddamn long. I just graduated last week and it took me 8 years for a bachelor's degree. And the funniest thing about that is that they contacted me, like the university contacted me like a year ago and were like, hey, we're just letting you know you're the only person left in your course. You must finish by October 2023 because your course will cease to exist at that point.
Oh my God.
So it was a good reason to be like, all right, fuck, I got to get this done because otherwise I can't finish it. So yeah, but that was the thing. Like I didn't want to do university full time because I knew that would take time away from scootering and other things. But I didn't want to completely give up on it because I'd started. Yeah. So throughout the time I was doing my degree, I really pushed for scootering. And while I was writing and opportunities overseas came up, that led to different jobs in like modeling and then different jobs in like little acting things. And then throughout that, like doing like marketing for certain businesses. But
that's what I mean. I feel like you've been open enough to like dive into all of these different things.
Yeah.
You know, and I think where I want to go to with this is like, I guess the resistance that comes up in I guess putting yourself in places or in being involved in industries that aren't scootering and kind of like what effect that has on, I guess, how people see you within scootering.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what holds a lot of people back. It's like, you know, I think these opportunities are there, but a lot of people kind of like, yeah, almost don't want to be like, it was a big thing like with me starting this podcast. I was like, I can't, like my brain was telling me like, oh, you can't start a podcast because like you ride scooters. And
yeah,
like,
no.
You know, if you do anything different, people are going to be like.
It's kind of like stepping inside the skate park for the first time, you know? Or like for most of us, most scooter riders I know didn't just start scootering. They started skateboarding or BMX. And I remember when I was about 12, I was a skateboarder for like 6 years and everyone knew me at my local or whatever that I was the skateboarder. Making that transition was pretty scary, let alone starting from scratch in a new sport with a lot of feral looking 13-year-olds that will probably bash you for your fucking like double clamp, you know? So like it feels like that, you know? And I'm sure most people listening will know what it feels like to kind of enter a new industry, enter a new job, like when you're in an entirely new landscape, you don't know much, you know? But you've just kind of got to accept the vulnerability, like I think, and like use it to your advantage. And like, yeah, it's scary, but like, you know, I always equate it to like nothing's as scary as a fucking quadruple kink rail, you know, like there's moments like that where like you're able to I've been able to use past experiences to help me through new experiences, you know, like when I first
that's really cool,
started like modeling, I was in Milan and learning how to walk on a runway is like actually way more complicated than you think it is. And like I didn't think that initially, and my agent at the time just told me, oh, your walk's fucked. You need so much work at that. And I needed to hear that in order to get better. But I ended up booking a job and I was okay at walking by that point. And it was like a big runway show in Milan for like a big brand. And I was like to my friend, I'm like, I'm terrified. Like, I don't like to walk. And he said like, he's like, dude, like, how are you scared? You're crazy, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, this is different. And then he's like, okay, well, when you're about to step on stage, you know, like you're behind the curtain, you're about to walk, like what's the gnarliest thing you've ever done? And I was like, oh, Inward El Toro. And he's like, what's the mentality you're in? Like right as you had to do that. And I'm like, I can fucking do this. This is it. This is all I need to do. I need to get right here. You know, like, and he's like, get in that mentality because you need to be in that like confidence to be able to do it. And like, that was probably one of the best walks I ever did, you know, like, cause I was just like walking on there with so much like adrenaline, like a built up adrenaline, just putting myself in my shoes from the past, you know? And, I've always tried to use that same, like, remember what he told me and use that same kind of mentality when it has been something new. You know, I think we make things scarier than they are in our head than they actually are, you know?
Yeah,
or where, you know, the insecurities that we're feeling are far more, you know, far more serious to us than they are to anyone on the outside. So like if you're entering, I feel like a new job or like a new relationship or whatever, like, you know, there's things you've dealt with in the past that have been scarier than that. And like, you know, it's a lot bigger in your head than it is in reality, and you can get through it, I guess.
Yeah, no, I love that, man. It's like, it's something everyone has in their tool belt.
Everyone's got something.
Yes,
Everyone has like this little something that makes them special or makes them a bit better, you know, like.
Yeah, or like they've been through something,
Yeah.
overcome it, and come out the other side.
Exactly.
But I think what we forget to do is remind ourselves of what we have overcome.
Definitely.
Because then it's like, you know, like, I guess using El Toro is not the best example, but like once you've done like an 8-stair handrail,
Yeah.
you know, an 8-stair handrail, you don't think about that again, you know. But
just
at the
move up.
time, it was massive.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, we do put a lot of emphasis, I guess, on ourselves in, or I think maybe too much expectation on ourselves to.
Yeah. I always use, even when I am like, I know this is still scootering, but even when I am like front lipping a big handrail and I'm like, wait, I haven't done a handrail in a second. Like, let me just think about this. I always imagine I'm just doing my local skate park rail, you know? I always just imagine that, like, and just imagine that it's that every time. And then when you do it, like, oh, it feels exactly the same, you know? I always use past experiences or things in the past I've overcome to approach new experiences or approach, you know, new anxieties or things that feel scary, you know? And that helps a lot in, like, not being afraid about the future, not being afraid to enter into a different industry. Because right now, I myself, and I'm sure other people are, like, coming out of COVID and stuff, you know, starting new careers or starting a new whatever, like, and it's always a bit anxiety inducing to like think about that, to think about like, God, how's the future going to go? How's this going to go? Like, am I really prepared? It's like, you've been through some stuff already. Like, you can get through this, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
and I like to remind myself, like, when has it ever not worked out?
yeah.
Like, it sounds just almost like comical,
No.
because like it's so true, but because we put so much emphasis and anxiety towards what we can't actually you know, perceive is going to happen.
Things always even out, man.
It's-
Like, I've always approached life that like everything comes in waves, you know, like, and
Yeah.
for every high there's a low, and for every
Yeah.
up there's a down, and that has been true for me for everything. Like, if you're having like bad luck after bad luck after bad luck, it'll come up again, you know. And it's always been good for me that like when shit's getting horrible, it's gonna get better, you know. Or like when shit's amazing, like you got to be humbling yourself that it's not always gonna be like this, you know.
Yeah.
So you've kind of like it. I feel like everything kind of always evens out, and you can have bad luck and good luck, but yeah.
Yeah. I guess it's kind of just like learning to, kind of find this like middle ground.
Just
Through
breathe
it
for
all.
a second and know that
Yeah.
like you'll make it through, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's cool, man. We can probably like segue onto, I guess, what we were talking about today, which is kind of like these transitions, I guess. Because, I feel like we were both speaking today kind of about, I guess, our time scootering, where it was popping for like a number of years and where it's not now. And, I guess like, where do you kind of see yourself with scootering now? And like, where do you, like, what's on the horizon for you?
I see myself always scootering, that's for sure. It's dolphin. Another dolphin. Hey, you see it? Oh, fucking near that jet ski. Anyway, I think it can be hard to accept, you know, like, I'm sure you've had this conversation with a lot of people, and like after COVID, I would like be like, oh, the scene in Australia is fucked, I'm going to Spain. And then like realize that in Spain it's not much better. I'm like, oh, it's fucked here, I'll go to America. And then realize in America it's not much better, and then go to UK. And then realize like, oh, well, it's actually not that great anywhere. And it's not even that it's not that great, it's that like we're of a different generation of it now as well. Like, And when we talk to people like, oh, there's not many people to ride with, it's like, yeah, because people are like in their late 20s, mid 20s and kind of needing to find full-time work, you know?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, right now, our industry, it's so young. It's hard for businesses to be able to support their riders. We're coming out of like a financial crisis post-COVID where factories and distribution centers can't move product because they've overbought, overproduced. Therefore, new companies can't produce stuff and pay their riders and pay whatever. So like professional riders right now are in a position where they're pretty vulnerable and like they need another source of revenue, and kind of a lot of people unfortunately look at it in a way it's like I have to kind of put the scooter in the garage and focus on something else. So
and a lot of people do that, and it's interesting. I think from our perspective, we've seen a lot of people do that. Mm-hmm. And I think we've maybe been around long enough to see those waves.
Yeah.
Like that it does come around.
100%.
But I mean, you are right. We are getting to an age where it is much different. But I think just like acknowledging that, yeah, things do change.
Yeah.
And you kind of got to just roll with it.
100%. And it doesn't mean like, and it's unfortunate because a lot of riders end up, tossing it away. But on the other end of that, I've met so many riders who maybe were riding full time and then were so burnt out on riding full time that now they've gotten a job and they can only ride 2 days a week. They love riding so much more. And I think it has something to do with that mentality of like, when we were in school, you could only really ride on the weekend and scootering was kind of deprived from you a little bit. So you valued it more. So then if you could only do it on the weekend, you'd enjoy the hell out of it. And I think maybe people now coming into full-time work where they can only scooter on the weekend again, it's that same mentality where now they're a little deprived from it. They can appreciate it more, like you don't know what you've got till it's gone.
Yeah, it's like a more concentrated window, I think, where you can put your energy. Because I've realized that, like when scootering was my whole life, and I would be like, if I wasn't riding spots, I'd be looking for spots, and if I wasn't like looking for spots or riding for spots, I'd be watching video parts. It's like, and it was an amazing time of my life, but I feel like the deeper I got into that, the less productive I was. Yeah, and it's like in taking a step back, I can actually put a lot more energy into a smaller window. Yep, and get way more done.
For sure, I've had the burnout a lot. Like it can feel like a burnout a lot for a lot of people, particularly because not many people are riding anymore, everything feels great when events are happening all the time and everyone's seshing and it feels like when you were 16, but when it's just you, like trying to force it, trying to like push people to go out and no one's doing it, it's like, you just feel like you're getting nowhere, and it just feels like this isn't natural, this isn't, this is a time for me to end it. But I think, it's just like, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a time to finish it. Just maybe like for the moment,
Yeah, well, where I was getting to with this and what I mentioned today is it's kind of like you got to roll with it. But I think like something needs to change. It's either like you and your perspective on where you are and what you're doing, or you need to change where you are and what you're doing. Yeah. And it's like...
Or who you're hanging out with.
Well, yeah, and that's I can encompass that as well. It's kind of
very much can become your environment and the people you hang around with.
And things just expire. Yeah, but it's I don't think it means to say that there's an end. No, it's just like a cycle, a season.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, the amount of riders that like I hadn't seen in 8 years that. When COVID was happening and everyone wasn't working, that just came back out of nowhere. Like so many people that I hadn't seen in so many years just boom, hey, I haven't ridden in like 8 years, want to go ride, So like for them, they'd been working for like 5-6 years, had stopped riding, and then like all of a sudden they're like, hey, I'm not working. What did I used to do before I worked? And then they're like, oh, get the scooter out, So for them, it wasn't even necessarily over. And then since COVID, some of those people are still riding every now and then, So I'd never look at like, moving on to a next chapter is like the end of my scootering career or something. I'd probably like moving on to a next chapter might just mean I'm not scootering as much, but it's still in the background. But for me and you as well, I think we're a bit different or like similar to other friends of ours who will probably always have scootering as a big part of their lives. I don't think we could ever really like commit to 9 to 5, never doing it for 6 months, like right now, like even though
it's too ingrained.
even though like I'm a professional rider, I'm still only riding like 3 days a week or something. And that's more just so I can enjoy riding, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
and I think when you've been doing something for so long, you need to remind yourself of like why you're doing it.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, I feel like even just hanging out with you today, I feel like there's some things brewing. You know, like I feel like there's something on the horizon, or it's just even nice to just like almost have that similar awareness to know that we want to be riding and be doing these things, but like we kind of also are acknowledging like the conditions for it aren't the same as what they used to be.
No.
Yeah.
No,
but I think something's going to come of it. We need to like organize a trip.
Yeah, definitely. And it's, you know, you always surprise yourself, you know, like I'll have bad days or like, you know, find nothing I want to ride or like just have those days that scare around. I'm like, what am I doing? You know, like, and then 2 days later, oh, that spot's sick, and get a great clip, have a good time, play an amazing game of Scoot, and then that passion's back again, you know? I think like you said, it's not a linear journey, you know, it is kind of cyclical, like, and it is just kind of like, I don't know, alinear or whatever, where it just kind of, you know, goes its path, you know? It's hard to pinpoint. I think we're all kind of figuring it out, you know? We don't really have the answer yet, but...
Yeah, no one's got any idea, really.
But we know that we're enjoying it, and we're getting a little older, and we're a bit confused. That's pretty much it, you know?
You're right, man. We're just trying to have as much fun as we can for as long as we can.
Yeah. It's hard, you know, like, and my parents are like, my dad's about to turn 70, you know, and they come from a different generation, and it's like, and for me to like not be working full-time job, you know, or like owning a house yet is like, you know, hard for them to understand, because when they were younger, you know, like it was a different time, not as many options. They had to be working full-time. They had to, you know, be getting a house, block of land, whatever. For them to understand my lifestyle now is quite hard. So I, as a lot of people watching, a lot of my friends have similar pressures on them, if it's not from parents or from partners or just from societal expectations, you know, that if you are like doing your passion, you know, well into your 20s, you can feel like a bit of shame. That's not even necessarily like from inside you, but just from everything else around you, to feel shame that you're doing what you love, you know?
Yeah. It's like, and I think there's almost like this projection from society that you have some sort of privilege to do what you love or what you enjoy. And I actually, while we're on this, I kind of want to like dissect that. Yeah. Because I feel like to choose the path that you've chosen with the acknowledgement of, you know, how society does things and how your parents might want to see you do things. Mm-hmm. I think what a lot of people don't understand is that route is like almost way harder than doing what's expected of you. Yeah, it just doesn't come easy. And to have like the freedom that you might have now does have a cost. And I think that's, something I just want to kind of like highlight.
Oh, there's a lot. I mean, I would say there is that we're very lucky to have been born where we were, to have been born with into a position where we could, you know, follow something we wanted to do. But I would say, I mean, like, would you think that a professional scooter riding career is going to pay you much? You know, like, it's like, you say like, oh, you're lucky or privileged, but like, would you want to do what I'm doing? Like, you know, would you really? Like, I mean, it's not like, it's a lot of work and a hell of a lot of like, we both grew up with like an insane amount of bullying and like, you know, hatred from people around us, and like, did it for like no expectation of like a career in this thing, you know, like at least I did. And it didn't get until like,
well, it wasn't even that wasn't even like an example ever set.
There was no one. There was no one. Like everyone we knew that was a professional scooter rider ended it at like 18, 19, you know, like it was just chasing a video part, you know, and just chasing a good time with your friends, you know, like it's just through a lot of hard work and luck, we got to a position where we could have this kind of freedom, you know? who knows how long it's going to last, but I'm super grateful it has, you know. I don't think
well, I think that's where it gets interesting, and I can like tie it back to what we were speaking about earlier, which is like when you do what society expects of you, it is predictable.
Mm-hmm.
And you know how it's going to end, you know? And I think we're both like we know where that leads and we don't want to go there.
Yeah.
But I think to take the opposite path is to almost be like, okay, I don't know how this is going to work out, but I'm just going to keep doing it and see how long it lasts.
Yeah.
And that's kind of just like that is not easy.
No.
It's like
and hard for parents to understand.
Well,
you know,
yeah,
and anxiety-inducing for them to understand, like, oh, why take the route that has no like certainty, than when you could take a route that does have certainty, you know?
Exactly, and that's a big difference between, I guess, their generation and ours.
Yeah, and I think a lot of our parents maybe would have taken that risk if it were available to them, or if they'd have seen that you could do that.
That's very true.
I just think at that time, the amount of jobs that are available or routes you can go or freedom that there is, you know, like that, I think they would have, but it's hard for them to understand that now. It's a different time.
Yeah, well, it's like their parents, you know, they came out of the war and like it kind of was just like life was about finding security.
Surviving.
And survival, yeah.
Raising a family, keeping them safe in case there was another war.
So, on some level there is, like, we do have like a privilege to be able to pursue what maybe generations before us couldn't have done. Yeah. But I would almost say that's like more of a reason to do it.
Yeah.
Not for it to be a privilege and not do it.
100%.
You know? It's, yeah.
I'm stoked I took the risk, and that's something I was really grateful of my parents, was that they weren't helicopter parents. They very much just let me like chase like whatever passion I had and just like gain my independence myself, you know? I just don't think they predicted I'd continue doing it for as long as I did. But that opened up my life into like, wow, I can kind of go over there or try this or do that, you know? Like, and there's been times where like people have asked me like, what's the right way to go with scootering? How do I like, or what's the right way to try this? Or if it's been like modeling, and I'm like, there's no one path to any of this stuff, you know? Like, it's so like random, you know, and like opportunity based and right time, right place, wrong time, wrong place, you know? Yeah. Like a lot of the reason, like right now I live in LA and it's awesome and it sucks. But the one thing that's really cool about it is that, yes, there are a lot of opportunities and it's all right time, right place. So you just got to kind of stick it out, keep going for things. And that's kind of like always been my mentality of like, I'll always be open-minded, I'll always go for things. And that's a place where I can just kind of like, so much stuff comes through that city. It's like, you know, if you got your fishing lure out for long enough, a fish is going to come, you know, kind of thing. And
it's very true, man. I heard something recently, which was kind of like luck is like aligned action with good timing. It's kind of like if you sit around and do nothing, like when those opportunities come along, like you can't take advantage of them.
No.
So it's like the more proactive you are and the more skills that you're building, like your luck per se actually expands.
Yeah.
Because like you're meeting the world halfway.
Yeah.
You know?
Putting yourself in a position to get things, you know, like in order to be lucky. Yeah. Like,
yeah.
And I've felt that, you know, like, I had it written on my phone for a long time where it's like, cool shit doesn't come to you, you make cool shit. I don't know. I remember I wrote something like that and it helped me for a while, but it was just like, it only happens if you make it happen, you know? Like, like a video, like making a video part doesn't just happen because a filmer says, hey, let's film a video part, you know? Like you've got to put in the effort. You got to find the spots. You got to, you know, like find the music. You got to put in the effort, you know, like, and then people can say like, oh, you're lucky. Like, it's like, I took a long time to get those sponsors, you know, a lot of video parts, a lot of traveling, a lot of days where you try to rail for 4 hours and nothing happened, or you got broke off, or you're in hospital for 3 months, you know, like you got to fail a hell of a lot to get lucky, you know, like, and And I think it's talked about a lot. It's not exactly a new topic, but like, yeah, the lifestyle we've led has, really like prepared us really well for other endeavors, and like understandings, like in terms of, persistence.
That more and more.
But yeah, in terms of like persistence and like, just trial and error, and
there's so many skills.
Being open-minded, or
I think Rodney Mullen was like a big, like, character for me, that helped me see what I've learnt in scootering can be applied to like pretty much my entire life.
Yep.
And he actually has like a TED Talk.
I think I've seen them.
And man, he's an amazing human being. But he was the one that really made me see that, which is like everything that you've learnt in one department, especially in an art form, is almost like transferable to like every other art form.
100%.
In some shape or form. It's it's pretty profound. And I think when you follow what your excitement is and what is fun, like that just compounds, and you just
It has to be exciting, It has to be fun. Otherwise, why are you gonna put everything into it?
Otherwise, all that work doesn't happen, really.
Yeah. Like the best things come from when you're just like so hyped about them, like some of the, like, when like a trick starts working and you're like, like,
and then you can put 4 hours of
you want
like
to,
battle
it's
into
not like
it.
it's like unwilling, but I've seen a lot of those skills transfer into, into like, let's see if this does it. The kendama. Probably not, but I've seen like modeling was a good example. Like there was a long period like where I'd start doing castings in Milan and Paris, and like I'd only get given, a casting is where you go to apply for a job, essentially like a modeling job, and I'd get maybe like 3 or 4 of them, but there'd be like 16 happening the same day. So I realized I could start crashing the castings, like go into the ones I wasn't allowed to go to. And those ended up being the jobs that I got,
Wow.
And it got to the point where I'd be there for a week. I'd go to like 60 castings, and like each one you're standing in a line full of like the most attractive guys you've ever seen on the planet, like ripped, and like you go there, no thank you. So you hear like 10 rejections a day. And like, by huge people in the industry saying they don't find you attractive or you're not right for this job. And then you do that every day until one person says, yep, like, we like you, you've got the job. And that was so similar to scootering, where it's just like, in the same thing with the rejections, like I'll fail the trick a million times until I get it, and it's just about sticking it out until the end, and like knowing that like if you're persistent and you keep going and you're confident and you like keep trying, it'll happen, And eventually it became like too much work. Like I had a great time with modeling and did a lot of cool jobs, and I still do it now, but like it's a hell of a lot of rejection. And anyone that asks me about going into that industry, I always say like, just be prepared and don't take anything too seriously, because they're gonna make you feel pretty small. But
yeah, it sounds like a savage industry.
But I think scootering, without scootering, I wouldn't have been able to go through that kind of rejection, or handle that kind of adversity. Yeah,
man. Yeah, it's quite a skill, I think.
Yeah.
Because that's also something I've realized in anything that I do now. It's like, if I don't give up, it's like pretty much guaranteed.
Oh, it'll happen.
It might take like 10 years.
Yeah.
But
no. And I as I've gotten older, some tricks can be harder to, like, tricks that I try can be harder to, like, stick it out for, I always love watching R. Willie and just always him posting the attempts that he, this took 10,000 attempts. I'm like, fuck, like, reminds you, it's like, all right, it is always like, even though he's been riding for 16 years, he still has to try it 10,000 times, Like, I mean, I've always been that rider where, like, nothing's ever first try and it'll always take me forever. Like, but sometimes I need a little reminder, like, I'm not the only one who struggles this much for what I want, like, and yeah, sometimes it can be like, yeah, overwhelming. But that's it. Like anything good in life comes through hard work, I feel. You know, anything that I've been stoked with, like, has come through hard work. Like anything that I've landed that's been first try, it's like, you know.
Yeah,
like,
you kind of just laugh.
Yeah.
and yeah.
You're just like, well, like, you know, the ones that I really worked for are the ones that felt good. And I'm sure that applies to anyone if it's been working on music or a film or like a job, any kind of job. Like, if the work has been really fucking hard and you know, like you've put everything into it, it feels so much better. Like as opposed to just like half-assing it and getting lucky, you know?
Yeah. I love that, man. So true. Cool, man. Well, it's getting a little bit windy out.
I was gonna say, what do you reckon? I mean, I don't know how
questionable, but I feel like we've covered a lot, which has been really cool.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
I think, before we sign things off, I guess like what are you drawing inspiration from nowadays?
A lot. I mean, I ride at the moment with a few different skaters, like William Spencer. He's like that Spider-Man dude. I don't know if you know who he is. He's like the stunt double for Spider-Man. He's a crazy skateboarder, and he like rides in such an obscure way. Him, like Richie Jackson, Ricky Glaze, a lot of skateboarders or a lot of people who just are weird and just kind of like, you know, look at things a different way. That's more what's inspiring me at the moment, and also just like a lot of scooter riders as well. Hard to say, like I'm constantly inspired by a number of things. If it's like, you know, musicians or like, you know, like I'm constantly listening to a lot of music, and I don't know, I'm kind of always drawing inspiration from everything. I try to always be outside, you know, like I'm always kind of hitting weird rails and different things, and I try to kind of always be outside and just searching and looking at things a different way. Sometimes, like, you know, I'll have a conversation with Richie and he'll just like say, what about that? And I'll be like, what do you mean? That's not. I'm like, actually, wait, that does kind of, like, you know, like sometimes I need to be like taken out of my own mindset to start like to start progressing in terms of scootering or like getting creative. I can't just stay in my own lane of thinking I need to grind this, I need to grind that. Sometimes somebody needs to say to me like, what about that? And I'm like, initially I'll be a bit like reluctant. I'll be like, oh, wait a minute, like actually you got something.
I feel like you did that to me today.
In what way?
You were mentioning like the quote of the day that I was doing.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's like I wouldn't have come up with that again.
Yeah.
You know?
But sometimes
it takes other people to bounce off.
Yeah, 100%. I made a really good friend in LA, Sam. He's a first generation scooter rider, and like 99, you know, to like 2003 type shit. And I hang out with him a lot now, and we go to a lot of like music jam sessions where like will be like 3 a.m. just like in a factory, and there's like 20 musicians just jamming for like hours on end, like, you know, saxophone, piano, trombone, everything, you know. And every time I like go to one of them, I see so many of these new musicians start to like meet other musicians and then go off with one of them randomly and then produce something. And like that always speaks so much volume to me in terms of like what collaborating does for people. Like different musicians coming together and then working together and creating something different, like opens their mind to like, damn, we actually together, like this has opened my mind to a different type of music I never thought I could make, or like different sound I didn't know I could produce, you know? And watching them, and like particularly Sam, he's not inherently like in hip hop in any way, but he's been producing for hip hop guys now, and that's kind of like making his, like, you know, informing his own music and giving him a different perspective on like how he's writing his own music now. And that always like tells me a lot about like, wow, like just writing with different people, talking to different people, like, you know, brainstorming with different people about writing, or even on another level, going to different countries, looking at the streets differently. Like really,
as you said earlier, it's about being open, I think.
100%. It all stems back from that, is being open to those ideas and diving into the scary section a little bit, you know, where it's like a bit, is that me? Is that, you know, nothing's you, you know, like everything's you, like, you know, like don't like box yourself in, like give it a go. Why not, you know? But yeah, in terms of inspiration, I think I'm always figuring it out, you know? Sometimes I can be quite closed-minded, like, and just like not know, but then I have one random conversation and all of a sudden I'll be like, damn, you know, like that's actually a good idea. Like, inspiration's coming from all different places, I'd say. But
no, I love that, man.
Not just within.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I love the idea of collaborations. Like, I think that's something that needs to make it come back more. Because we're like, I don't know. I just think we're so much better off when we, like, it feels like that's what we're supposed to be doing. Because, you know, if you can make a video part, I could make a video part, and then be amazing separately. But, like, we could almost, like, never, ever recreate what we would do together, potentially.
Yeah. There needs to be so many more split video parts.
And it's like, you have that appreciation, like, yeah, it's almost just like...
I get so hyped when I see, like, going back to scootering, like when Brian Noyce and Mike Homan were like this team of riders making videos together, or like Nick Tedrick and Tommy Cristiano, or like Gabe and Riley, you know? I remember some people at a skatebug one day were like, they don't need, like, Gabe and Riley shouldn't be teamed up, like they should make individual parts. And I'm like, they're like 18, like they've got such a career ahead of them to make their own video parts individually. Like, I think it's so sick when people come together and are like a team, you know? Like those videos are so fun, and like we don't get enough of them, and seeing like those things are just awesome. And like you get like the best of both, and like this awesome chemistry where you can see like how the riders bounce off each other. And like,
you know what this is making me realize, Juz?
What?
Is this is what we need.
Yeah.
We need to be bouncing off one another and others, you know? And that's what I think is going to keep us all moving with momentum. It's just like, coming together, doing shit like this.
100%.
And just seeing what comes from it.
Needs to be, like, we're stronger together than alone, you know?
Yeah.
That's why I always liked, you know, even scooter teams, you know, like I think a lot of the reason I was very enthralled with scootering, or the biggest reason I like kind of loved the Australian scootering community, stemmed from the original Mad Gear team, you know.
100%.
Me personally, that was a huge thing, and seeing that kind of like camaraderie, and like the way the riders complemented each other, the way they were all so different, and for that reason you appreciated everyone individually, you know. You'd see that with skate teams, but with scootering I really loved it. And I think scootering's lost that a bit, you know, like because Instagram is a very me-oriented thing, like you solely-oriented thing. You have your own Instagram profile, so every rider's focused on themselves. Like people kind of like that whole team vibe kind of goes away, you know, and like
that's true.
And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but like I think that's resulted in like a lot less team focus over the years. Like it's sick we see like Aztec like have like their team videos, and I think it's amazing they're still pushing that. But yeah, like I miss like collaborations between things where, or even collaborations, you know, like those kind of collabs can be the sickest thing through scootering by creating things like Coalition, you know, where it's everyone working together.
So true.
And that's probably some of the most iconic street stuff that's ever happened, you know, because all the brands came together to sponsor it. All the riders from every sponsor came together to be a part of it, you know. And I think coming together as a community brings those ideas, you know.
100%, man. And I feel like that really concludes things with, I could wrap this up in like one sentence, which is like, trust the process and find the others. Yeah, exactly. And be open-minded. Go into the scary waves. Challenge them. No, I think like... Swim parallel to the beach, though. Fear is a good compass. I do think that. Yes. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. It's usually like... the things that you're scared of are like where the most opportunity for growth usually are. 100%. I mean, we didn't like, I don't know about you, but I didn't get hyped up about a skate magazine when I was 5 years old because it looked safe, you know? Because it looked crazy. It looked insane. I wanted to do that, you know? And you got to remember that sometimes. Like, why did you get into this? Or like, what enthralled you about this in the first place? Because it was scary, because it was a bit dangerous, because it was a bit unknown, you know? Yeah. And if we remember that sometimes, maybe it'll influence our decisions to keep going into the unknown. Keep doing the scary thing. Yeah, man. Yeah, we have no idea how it's going to pan out, but we're here for it. Along for the ride. Yeah. Well, thank you, Kevin. Thank you, man. It's been a pleasure.
No more dolphins
Pleasure.
anymore. The waves have gotten a bit choppy. I hope you can see this. I hope the brightness has come up.
It'll be good. No, thanks, Juzz.
Well, thank you. And thank you all.